LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield. Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned stations are uniting to bring you top-notch veteran-run podcasts, along with your favorite classic rock music 24/7. Stay tuned for the ultimate radio experience that celebrates our heroes and plays the tunes that never get old. From engaging discussions to timeless hits, this partnership has everything you need for your listening pleasure. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter in radio history as MB Radio and Patriot Radio come together to rock your world.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hey, hey. It's MJ Monday morning, 10 o'clock. Are we bright? Are we up? Are we exhausted? Yeah. It's been one of those energetic cycles. And so I'm not going to lie. I am still packing and moving, except this is really the big hoodoo. So I didn't come with a lesson today. The only lesson I came with today is to show that no matter how high that somebody can prepare their bodies and prepare their mind and prepare their soul, there's always going to be a hiccup. And when that hiccup comes, no matter how exhausted you are, you have to remember the fundamentals. Me too. I still have to. And people go, MJ, it's not that easy. MJ, it's not. I understand. If any of you can believe in me understanding, I'm there with you. I'm there with you with the PTSD in the military. I'm there with you in the fishing and the hunting industry. And I'm there with you in the spiritual realm and all the realms that I've endured in my lifetime. And right now, I'll tell you what, when they say, hey, you're getting older, and you're like, no, I'm not. I'm still this young whippersnapper. And you're turning around going, woo, I'm exhausted. And then I have to look back at times of my life and watching my own ancestry, my own parents, right? Going and working and then going to a tavern that I wanted and their exhaustion levels. I'm only moving. Selling companies, trying to get those transfers going, trying to do. And let me tell you, it's been an experience. And I found an industry that needs healing. Honestly, I did. And I hope if any of you out there have ever dealt with realtors, you're gonna like this show. So way back in July of 2023, I got visited by the Dark Knights to tell me it's time to go. Now, I've lived here with the United States Air Force at Homestead since 1988. I took off after Hurricane Andrew, and I came back in 1997. At that point, I had 2 baby girls. Shortly after, just to give you an idea, I became a single mother with 2 kids shortly after that debacle. And then I remained that way all the way until 2009 when I married, or 2018 when I married. And I just felt like there was always a need. And I always had, highs and lows. You go through the emotions of the heart and everything else. But I felt like this had to be home. It had to be home for a lot of reasons. It had to be home for my children to have some type of Rock of Gibraltar, a stable force. It had to be home so that they could see their dad, and their dad was a very loving father. And he loved them. And so I stayed. And I always said by 2013, I was out of Miami, period, after my youngest one graduated. Well, she's long been graduated. I'm still here. But then I married in 2018, and he was born and raised here. That's difficult. It's difficult to uplift somebody, especially if they're not very much of a journeyman or a ventureman or, military where you get to travel like a gypsy and go all over. And so that's very difficult. Well, as luck would have it, as the dark nights came in and I started shutting down businesses, and he's like, why? I go, it's time to shut them. And he's like, my husband couldn't even understand it. Why? And then we went home in September. And there's some dynamics at home that really touched our heart. It touched our soul to a point. It's time to go. It was time to go north. It was time to leave the area. And he said it this time. My husband, Ozzy, he goes, I'm out. It's time to move. I just can't deal with my hometown anymore. It's overcrowded. It's awful. And I just don't know. So at that point, we ended up starting to really look at homes. And we just started, and it became like just this nightly thing. We sat on the couch, and we always sit on the couch at night. It's our thing, watching Big Bang. And then we just scroll through our phones looking at properties. And when we did that, it was fun. It was fun at first. It really was. It was fun at first. It was, oh my gosh, look at this one. Oh my gosh. And then we would see ones that we were like, okay, cabin, log home, mountain lodgy, mountain lake. And we would find these things and it'd be like 1.8 mil, 2.3, somewhere at 14 million. And of course we would laugh because we're just common folk, right? We're just not there. We don't need to be there. But we would laugh going, we're gypsies. We're too much for that. And we would laugh it off. So now came to be the serious part where we actually found some houses we liked. And the first one we were at was North Carolina. It's called the Soapstone House. And that one happened very quick. It happened in December. And North Carolina realtors, they say that, yes, you can, put a contingency on the house, but you lose the money if it's our fault for not selling the house. And then they have the rights to move onward. So FYI, North Carolina will do it, but you are at a loss to lose the property. So we were in negotiations on that property. And it was beautiful. It was a really nice mountain contemporary type of home. And here you have it. Here's the first debacle. So the Soapstone House, we were like, yep, this is it. We put it in. And now the offers came. And now we were ready to ask them questions about the inspections. And I guess the house had been abandoned for a while. And the children of the parents, who I guess deceased, decided that they were going to invest all this money to make it look good cosmetically, but soundly it really wasn't. So then they decided that they were going to have an offer that is the biggest and best. And if I wanted it, I would have to put down $15,000 in contingency to sell my home for them to, I guess, get their money back from the carpets and the painting, whatever. I go, that's a contingency in North Carolina. They would have lost my money. I would have lost $15,000. Divine Mother God above me said, no, 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 no. That's not happening. Don't you do it. Okay. So we didn't. Biggest and best offer after a contract, and we didn't get that property. So we were back down to square one. We're still now now we're full force with the realtor here at my own home. So if you're going to sell your home, they want you, I'm just letting you know, because even if you go through any of the Zillows or the realtor or home.com, all of them, they'll tell you the size of your home, this and that. And they'll put a little thing and they'll say, it's going to cost you $45,000 to sell your home. And you're like, what? For what? Because they all want you to paint. They want you to stage the house. Stage it. So now you're going to invest money into storages to get everything out of your house and paint your house and make your house look, like it's right out of the freaking Better Homes and Garden magazine to make it look as if somebody would easily just come in and live. I got it. But now you're spending $45,000 for them to come in and rip it out anyway because they're not going to like it. So where the hell is all this money, right? This industry. What a racket. What a flippin' racket. If somebody likes your home, they're going to buy it and they're going to make it yours. Trust that faith. If you need to get out and sell, well, then you're probably going to have to do what they say, right? You're going to have to stage it and you're going to have to make it the stupid cookie cutter home, which is gray, beige, and white. Gray, beige, and white. Everybody, gray, beige, and white. Gray. That is like, I guess it was like the green back in the 70s, the brown, the green, the orange in the 70s. Everybody had the green because that was what it was. Everybody wanted that cookie cutter. I'm not a cookie cutter person. Look at me. I am not. I am so not a cookie cutter person. And so I'm here to call justice and balance. So my realtor and I back and forth. She's like, MJ, we'll come. We'll help you. We'll help you. Well, at this time, I just told you I had already, oh, I got a mad face. I hope you're not mad at something I said. Oh, I don't like mad faces. But it's the truth. And I'm only telling you the truth. So what ends up happening is we get now to where my realtor, I have 3 businesses of in my house, in my sheds, in my garages. And I still have 3 companies that I'm running out of my home in the Redlands, right? Chaos, complete and utter chaos, because the dark nights are telling me to get out. And then now I have a realtor who wants me to empty out everything. And I'm paying more money for storages than I'm paying for my own mortgage on my own house, because the real estate market, it's easier this way. And I get it, because I get the real estate market who wants to sell, because this is how people walk through life, like freaking blinders. They have no imagination. They have no ideologies. So the house is either going to be for them or not. To the point, I've imported my floors. This will baffle you. The floors at my own home. I literally, Matt the Racket, it can, yes, Red. That's what I'm saying. So here I have imported real stones from Colorado, slate, big stones. I mean, big, and they're probably this thick, where they had to put the cement and they had to stack everything in it. Somebody wanted to buy my half an A-frame, all glass home, and it's a lodge. It's sporty. It's really a well-balanced masculine and feminine home, and it's able to come in without so much pinkies and all the feminine stuff, but yet the feminine touches the crystals. The feminine touches like the trees on the wall, or the affirmations on the doors, but the masculine energy is the taxidermies. We love to fish and hunt, so our trophies are a taxidermy. We ate them, right? So now here we have, and then I have Italian tile imported on my floors. All right. This lady comes in, wants to underbid me $150,000 on my own home just so that she could recreate the home she wants. Okay, why am I paying? Why am I paying for that? Why do I have to pay for somebody else who wants to completely change in of their ideologies? You don't. But here it comes back to the realtor stage your house, right? So now you're paying $45,000 to stage your house. Well, I'm not going to take my tile out. I'm not going to take that out. So what? I'm going to take I'm going to take what? That orange wall out because you don't like it and I'm going to paint it. I have to go through the trouble of painting it of whatever. Well, if it's my choice of paint, then you're going to have my desert sand, right? Because I was in Desert Storm. So here's my desert sand. Well, you don't like desert sand, you paint it. You do your bullshit, right? That's how I feel. Look, I'm at 15 minutes. I've only got to the first house. We got to go to commercial. We'll be right back. You're listening to MBR Radio. I'm MJ with the world of conscious positive thinking. This is conscious positive because I had to tap my way out of so many angers. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so we're going to have to make this zippy because I see how long this is going to take. So, okay, now we have the debacle here at my own house trying to sell. And what do I say? Faith. Have faith. I tell my realtor, her name's Patty, and I love her. She was a friend before this, and she's still my friend. And as we do this together and as we talk, and I was like, they're going to put the right person at the right time. Trust me. I said, if the Dark Knights of the Soul have already come to take the businesses, they're on a mission, right? Divine intervention. Father, Mother, God's going to come in somewhere, and they're going to make all of this happen. How, when, why? We just have to keep faith. Now, this was in December. So now my realtor goes, MJ, you shouldn't put the house in the market because real estate really bottoms out. She goes from like the middle of December to like the third week of January. She goes, it's just, and then all of a sudden it comes back on. And she was right. Crickets. But the crickets were good because it was enabling us to find this newer now we lost North Carolina. Now we got to find. And we have been looking just for property. We wanted anywhere between 50 to 100 acres so that we could do a retreat, so that he could do his his photography workshops with night trails and nebulous shots. And I mean, we've been doing all of this. And so we've been looking. So now we found another house in January, and it was in Mapleton Depot up in Pennsylvania. What a dream. It was beautiful. Everything went like clockwork. We were in a contingency. We were this. Now, these poor people, their house was on a market for over a year. And so when I got to the 45 days of my contingency and my house did not sell, I had to let it go. They gave me the money back. They had a sale. Everything we just had to find another house. It was sad. We liked the property. It was close. It was near where we wanted to be. And it just didn't happen. Cut our loss. So then we moved. Now we start. Now that was North Carolina, and now that was Pennsylvania. So now we found another home, 185 acres, beautiful. The price was beautiful, top of the mountain, like we wanted. Now we're in West Virginia, in Grantsville. We're in Grantsville, West Virginia. We had another realtor that we became really fond of. We call him Jerry Garcia. His real name is Jim, but his partner's name is Jerry Mann. And Jim Morris is the broker of Calhoun Realty. And he is the most laid. I love him. I just smile. But our laid backness of trying to find this and looking at this and looking at this, a contract was never made. Then we ended up losing that property. Like, vicious out there. There are a lot of people moving from really bad, like New York and California really is bad. And they are buying up lands left, right, and center in Florida, in West Virginia. They're buying the lands that are no longer in populated areas, which is kind of what we were doing. We were trying to get out of Florida and trying to get away from all this havoc. And you can just look at the dimensions. You don't have to believe me. I understand it's political. So just go and do your own homework and you'll find out what I'm telling you is true. And I don't have time because that's why I didn't have a lesson to actually put stuff up, but it's all there. And so now you have these people who are really expensive. Florida ended up going to a 53% living expense. Florida in Miami, the South here, is extremely, extremely expensive. And so people moving out of New York where they thought it was expensive, we're getting another tax on top of us now. So they're going to be just as much money as New York. I just said it. It just came through our legislation. They're going to be paying a lot. So don't move to South Florida. You don't want that expense. Move North Florida, move the Panhandle, but you don't want, this is really expensive. Unless you have the money, of course, then you move, then that's okay. So onward. So now we lose this property. Now we lose the West Virginia property because somebody from South Florida went to that property in West Virginia that I was trying to figure out the price of the new roof, the price of things, because it's an older home and it needed all this work, just like you would buying a house. Can we afford to fix X, Y, and Z? And, how much is it going to cost in that area? And this is what we were doing. The realtor who had it, Jim, the owner said, hey, somebody called, they're coming in. Well, Jim wasn't even there that weekend. And next thing you know, he calls me, he goes, MJ, there was a cash offer out of South Florida that came in. I go, you got to be kidding me. He called me, he goes, was it you? I go, no, it wasn't me. I'm working with you. He goes, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I lost that property. So of course, here we are, pins and needles. Now we have more storages because, now we're like, let's stage the freaking house. Okay. So now we have more storages and now we have we had 5 companies. Now we have more of our companies shutting down, which means the money's not coming in, which means it's turning our financial realm upside down because we have to stage the house, right? We have to clean it up and stage it. And I'm like, why am I paying for people to come and push all this and then pay it for it again? And there's a lot of money involved, a lot of useless money involved. So now we are looking for another property. So now we are invested in trying to find another venture to figure out what are we going to do if this house sells. So now we found another house. Now this one's in Reynoldsville by Paxitani, Pennsylvania. Beautiful property. It's divided by highways and it's like 3 different, beautiful, because then the hunting could be one section, the spiritual stuff can be another, and the photography could be like, it was the perfect little property in our mind but maybe not Father, Mother, God's mind, but in our mind, it was the beautiful property. So here we are. Now we come back and we're still having to answer questions on our house, right? So now our realtor comes back and she goes, you know, most of the people's comments, they don't like my taxidermy. Can you take the taxidermy down? I wish I could take this system outside right now for you and show you. Oh, look, here's one. Look at my living room. This is just one taxidermy. See that big ass box? That's only one. We have a box twice the size of that for an in-flight 28-pound flying turkey on a limb. That box is so big. And she wanted us to do this earlier. Now we had to do it right now, but there's nowhere to go. Like, who's even going to move that? I mean, the movers are going to have to move it. So now we do this. Now we have this guy who comes, and I was like, we're not taking it down. So I got to see the guy firsthand because my realtor was away. And I told her flat out, I understand these taxidermy pieces aren't staying here. So try to look past the taxidermy that you don't like, you know, and they really, my husband has a 10-foot python on our bed, like taxidermy. So I'm laughing because the people's conditioned mind of man to judge is crazy. It's just crazy. It makes me sick to my stomach. The amount of judgment that has come through my house, and it has come through. It just, that's why I keep, and anybody who knows me, I'm like, and man again, and man again. When I say man, it means human, not man, right? Because Father, Mother, God didn't put these conditioned egos and judgments in our mind because it's only of love. It's of balance. So I just laugh and I'm like, Divine's going to put me somewhere. Divine's going to put me somewhere where sure as shit, the Paxitani house, that flipping realtor, and I'm going to call them out because this was asinine. That realtor, he decides, and they were from Berkshire and Hathaway. I asked him for a contract. He sent me the contract. I signed the contract. I had them, and he's like, the owner says he doesn't want to sell the property unless you come. I said, I will come as long as the contract's there because obviously you have up to 7 days to do inspections. The inspections, I have a 7-day leeway period to back out if you are not honest. We did visuals. We had 2 different visuals for us go through the property. Of course, I use my modalities, my pendulums and my stuff, and I get to see the energies because that's what I do. And that's what I like to do. I like to see these energies and I can read them very quickly. And at that point, the guy says, I have the contract. So here we go with this contract now. So now this is now our 4th contract, 4th one. And this guy, and this was now, let's see, January, February, March. This had to be April. I want to say April. So now we're into April, and now we have this other contract. So we're all hyped. We're like, oh, we're moving to Pennsylvania. We're moving to Paxitani. This is blah, blah, blah. Everyone's happy. Now we're gearing up, and now we're starting to really pack again because now we're going to go, right? Whether the house sold or not, we are going to go. The guy says you need to come up. So we buy a last-minute ticket to go up to Paxitani. I'm just saying, the guy, the realtor, can't think of his name off the top of my head. He was a cop. And the guy selling the house was a cop, right? Tell me how unethical, you guys who want a judgment out there. How unethical. You make me fly up, just because, not wire, to hand a check to them. So my husband gets a ticket last minute, and I said, and this was on a Sunday. I go, he can't get there any earlier than Monday night. I got to buy a ticket. So now, and then we realized that he was still on the airboats. He had to work. So what happened? So now after the airboat, we get him. He climbs up, gets to the airport. By the time his flight lands and gets to a hotel, it's 2:00 in the morning on a Tuesday. He grabs the rental car at 6:30 in the morning, drives 3 hours to Paxitani from Pittsburgh, goes through the property. The owner is showing him shit that you wouldn't show people. Safes, combinations, stuff like this. I mean, you're going to want to know this, and you're going to want to, like, literally, like, we have the property. My husband spent 2 hours at the property. He leaves the property, and now he's in the mountains. And this guy, realtor, I gotta find his name, calls and says, so, you know, the seller decided that, you know, he was going to take this other offer. I go, what? He says, well, you know, he goes, sometimes it's highest and best. Okay, people out there, highest and best is bullshit, unethical practices of any realtor and any freaking person who buys. When you put a price on your damn house, that's the price. Highest and best attains to appraisal values only. So when appraisal comes in, you are allowed to get another appraisal done. And it's called the highest and best on the appraisal to make the offer. Why is that? Because what happens is on that highest and best, you get to go ahead and say, this is now the cost of my house. And it could vary, $5,000, $10,000. So spending all this money of storages and whatever, staging and traveling, you are frustrated to the point of epitome. I was so angry because he handed me the contract. I signed it. I gave the money. My husband went up as the seller wanted. And an hour after they left, it was no longer a deal for us. It was done. We lost that house. Now, not only did we lose that house, we had somebody at our house here coming in, a professional pickleball player. And we are not in contract yet because the mother needed to see the house. But I see it's, again, for commercial. So I will be right back. I got to go to commercial. And let's see, who are we going to do? Let's go to the Salt Cave real quick. We'll be right back. This cave is a one-stop shop to heal whatever ails you. Whether you just need downtime, whether you need respiratory or lymphatic, blood pressures, just any type of program that is medically necessary to you, I am sure salt's going to play one of those factors. We use saline for our eyes. We use salt water for our ears. We gargle with salt water for when we have sore throats. And we're even putting salt water spray, nasal sprays by our doctors up our nose. Except most of these things that are by our big pharma or our doctors are actually not salts, like Epsom salt. It's not even a salt. This is true to form. We're not kidding anybody. The properties are what they are. You can look it up in science magazines, health magazines. Himalayan salt is the only salt you want. You can digest it, you can eat it, burn it, you can lay in it like tub baths. You can use the actual steams with all the minerals so that you can actually put those minerals back in our skin and our face over hot steamy water. Salt, when you put the light on, sometimes they sweat and sometimes they water. Oh my gosh, my rock is leaking water. And that is the most perfect rock. I always tell everybody, I want that rock back. Because 1 out of every 100 rocks might sweat. And that's, it doesn't mean it's bad or good. It just means it's that much better. It's just that much better, right? Because we don't do negatives here. We do anything that's positive, that's what we do. Except our ions, we have to keep our ions negative. Why? Because the negative ion in the density of the salt creates our body to be a higher in pH balance, right? So that's the goal. Our goal is to raise our body in pH, lower the acidity level, because then we all become healthy. Healthy like weight, healthy like bacteria, viruses, fungus. None of them can penetrate. So that's the cool thing about our salt. So why not take a seat and get every amount of healing that your body can actually have for 1 hour in the salt cave. Let's get healthy together.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hey, welcome back, mbrradio.us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook. Did I say Facebook? We're all over the place. Oh, Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. My show through MBR Radio is called The World of Conscious Positive Thinking. We flip the pattern so that we don't have to stay in this anger mode. Right? Trust me, I was breathing a lot and I was tapping a lot during this process. I had to flip the pattern. I always came back to flip the pattern by God does not want us there. Father, Mother, God just doesn't want us there. It's okay. Everything has to be okay. Balance and breathe. You know the money, you know this, and whatever learning lesson we can take. So now we're in Paxitani with these two crooked cops. Unrealistic. I literally call Berkshire and Hathaway. Prominent company, right? Realty company. The owner, Don Powell. I call him. Well, he was probably already faced because I had called and he wasn't available. So I basically briefed with no discussion saying, I have a complaint on this company. And they must not sell a lot of houses because I called. He goes, I've already talked to, I can't remember his name. And he's like, let's just put it aside and let's just find you a house. I go, do you really think I would be anywhere part of this company to buy a house? That is unethical what you just did. And I go, now I have a house for sale and I have nowhere to go. Thank you. Thank you for all this. And he's like, we could just find you another house. I go, I don't want another freaking house. I said, I want you to see what kind of people that you have with crooked cops. This is all, right? Yep, I said it. How dare you take my money, make me spend all this money, put me in a contract. And then I realized the seller never signed the contract. And I offered what he was. I offered the same price. I saw the value. I saw how well it was taken care of. And I gave him what his asking price was. And they still said at the very end, well, the seller, just like North Carolina, they decide the highest and best. It's not our fault. No, you signed it up. You're the company. You're supposed to have ethical backgrounds and explain to the sellers, right? The ethicity of it. So of course I have lots of realtors. So the realtors are now my house becomes off market. The people who wanted to come and buy my house, it wasn't even the pickleball player. I'm sorry, at that time. It was another family. And the agent came in. My realtor, she was up in New York. She was on vacation. Actually, it wasn't really vacation. She was working for somebody else at the time to sell property or buy property or something up in the Adirondacks. She goes, MJ, I'll be back. So I told her, if there's something, just let me know. I'll bring them in. Well, during this whole transition time, my house came off of the 6-month contract. So, of course, I had every dog-faced realtor, ugly freaking person come to my door calling like it was nuts. My other realtor friend goes, MJ, do yourself a favor. She goes, until your realtor gets back, she goes, just put a sign out front of your house, owner and sell by owner. She goes, and weed the people. So one of them came through and wanted to schedule on a Saturday. Well, they came through with their house. And let me tell you, it ain't easy. Some of these ethics that come into the United States in their third and second world mentality are not easy, especially conditioned how we were conditioned. That is a judgment, and I get that, but I'm not making it as a judgment. I am calling a spade at this point, right? They're in my drawers. They're literally going through my personal drawers, spraying perfumes, spraying colognes. I've never saw such a disrespectful Spanish family in my entire life coming into somebody's home that was, and of course, my realtor's nowhere to be seen. She's up in the Adirondacks. The realtor that brought the family in didn't have a car, didn't have anything. He goes, oh, they're in the car. He comes in and he goes, I said, I'll step out. You can show the house. He goes, what? He goes, I don't know your house. I said, no problem. Who else the better to sell my house than me? So let me go through. So now I go through and I'm trying to keep everybody together. It is a cluster F like no tomorrow, right? The realtor sits out at my lychee tree, sits there eating my lychees, takes the owner. The wife comes and says, I want the house. And I said, not a problem. We start, right? Now the guys come in. She goes, walks outside to them. They all come in. And the realtor stands in my kitchen area. And the guy comes and says, let's talk. He goes, I'm construction. I said, okay, great. He goes, tell me what are the load bearing walls and blah. So I tell him. He goes, I want your house. He goes, how low can I go? And I said, and I tell him, I'm not walking out without this. And he goes, get rid of your realtor and we'll get rid of him. And he goes, we can do it together. I said, that is so unethical. I would never. So now he leaves. He tells his realtor he wants the house. The realtor calls my realtor and says, listen, unless you give me 4%, I'm not buying the house. Another unethical realtor out there. So now I'm talking to some of my realtors who have been 50 years of realting, just like Jim Morris. He's been realting forever. And he comes back and he goes, listen, MJ, he goes, this is what's happening. He goes, you got a lot of COVID realtors. And he goes, and that's what we're calling them. He goes, they just started because of COVID. They have no idea their work, their job, and there's a lot of them unethical, just trying to look for money. And I told Patty, I'm not selling to that people. I'm not. I go, it's undermining. They're loathing. I'm not doing it. I wouldn't do it to my own property. And I love my property and I love the spiritual realm of my property. I'm not doing it. They don't deserve my property. So I canceled it. Meanwhile, now we have no place to live because now we got to find another place. So now we get to Virginia. Virginia was a beautiful house. Everything there was just a beautiful thing. And now the pickleball player comes in and he wants a quick turnaround. So we were supposed to close July 31st. We get to find this house in Virginia, 56 acres, 160 acres. And now we get all the way. We're supposed to close August 18th. A week and change ago, came on a Friday, two Fridays ago. So it's 15 days, 15, 16, whatever. You know what I'm saying. And I get a phone call. And this beautiful realtor, her name is Tammy Coleman. She's with the Century 21 Diamond. She's beautiful. She called me in tears. And she goes, MJ, the daughter not even once, is sold the house and moving to Florida. And the parents, after 2 years of such tragedy, the man lost his leg 2 years ago, all the way up to his hip, newly into, and he had a farm. It's a hay farm. Well, he actually had, Angus, 100 heads of cattle, 100 heads. And the family was trying to help support. He realized that the cattle was too much for the wife. So he sold the cattle and made all of the paddocks and the hay, just a hay farm. It was easier to do. The neighbor also farmed hay. So there was a deal made that like a lease type of thing. And they were living. The problem is this house wasn't, as we all know, and if there's any vet out there like myself who comes into wheelchairs, there's just some houses, wheelchairs are just, it's an HAH, right? Handicap Accessible Housing, HAH. And even though I have a grant to modify this house, I never did it. So I understood from my heart, I had to put myself backwards, and it was tough. If you follow MOJOZZIA, it's called Mojazi on YouTube. It's a reality of my husband and I moving. And it hurt. It hurt because we had already paid for the trips up, the hotels, the gases, all the inspections, everything. We were in underwriting. We were supposed to close the 18th. Right here coming. We lost it because the owner said, I'm not moving to Florida. I want my house and part of his home. And I feel him. And he wanted it. When we went there, this is how honest people do things. This realtor and these people, here's your honesty. She's like, I have other bookings coming in. And the seller of the house said, well, aren't these people interested? We just met. We like them. That was my husband and myself. And she goes, well, yes, but we need to take backup offers. He goes, no, we're not. He goes, we like them and we're taking the offer. And he's like, so let's get a move on. And she says, okay, no other contracts, no other showings, no other nothing, right? How it's supposed to be, according to all the realtors who've been doing this for a lifetime. That's the ethical way. Here we go. So now we're doing it. And this is when they ripped the rug out, and my heart knew for him. My heart knew. I said, you can't control children, what they do to your heart. I know this firsthand. You can't. And it hurts. So you breathe, right? Yep, you let go your anger. And if you see it, you'll see me going, what the F? And you'll see it in my reality. And that is the explosion, because I just found out and I had to tap. And I had to tap and I had to breathe and I had to cry a tear, because now my house is sold. My closing date was July 31st and I have nowhere to live. And I have my loan officer from the United States Air Force. I love him, Alan Braden. If you guys want his CCM, Alan Braden, do it. That company is amazing. And he works, especially Alan, he works side by side with you. Some of his other CCM people in different states that he doesn't, not so sure. But this guy, on the mark. And he says, MJ, he goes, we'll cut this, and we'll paste it all together. So now he's like, are you kidding? Well, he was so smart. He left us in escrow. He goes, not escrow, in underwriting. He goes, I'm just going to leave you in underwriting because you need to find a house. Because now we're after July 31st. And my house is closed. I'm sitting in a closed house. Thank God I have 15 days to get out. And all of this, we're franticking, looking for places. Now I have every state in my beautiful realms in the last 8 months, looking 9 months, 10 months of this. And I opened up them all, every venue of every state. I'm like, here you go, from Chattanooga all the way up on the Blue Range, the Smoky, anywhere on that ridge, on the east side of that ridge, I'll take. And I said, with this acreage, these were my, this is what it had to be. Not a problem. Found it, right? So now my house closes, and now I'm boxing. We still haven't found a house because this is like, I don't know, it was like death to the heart. And it hurt. It's like I had to become aware that we don't have no place to go. We don't have a 40 address. And I don't mean it in that way, because my family and friends, they are like, come live with us. You're going to find something. Come live with us. Don't freak. But it's not the same, because I still have all these titles and all the stuff for businesses coming to the house with no forwarding address. And I can't get a P.O. box down here because I'm not going to move here. I need to move north. Problematic. Kept faith, breathing techniques, right? Calming it down, trusting in our faith. Father, Mother, God is going to open up this window. Just wait for it. So now we found this other house, finally. And we had looked at West Virginia. My guy Jim called the realtors, Better Homes and Garden, West Virginia. Stay away from them. They're the unethical ones. Well, here we hear it again. We found another property, and this one was like, yeah, we bought land with kind of like a retreat house on it. We have to build our own home. The price was amazing, blah, 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 blah. Gave them the offering money that they wanted, right? Contract. She says, yeah, you could submit it. We're going to make a decision on Wednesday. That was, I think, 2 Wednesdays ago or something. I told Jim, my beautiful realtor in West Virginia, I go, tell him to suck eggs, go get the other property. So we go to this other property in West Virginia, and this other property now says that they will never put me in a contract unless I go. I go, I don't have time. I don't have, and I explained the situation, and I said, but I can tell you, I've already did walkthroughs. I've already done all the work. And she said, yeah, well, that's what the other people said. And then he came up the road. I go, so what's, and then wait to hear this one, my veterans, Better Homes and Garden folks and sellers. They said no VA loan, period. And no FHA loan. So of course I said, what's wrong with the house? Now there's the cliffer, and I got to go to another break. I'll be right back. You're listening to MBR Radio. I'm MJ, the world of conscious positive thinking, turning and flipping things around that really annoy us in life. This was a big annoyance for me and a learning lesson. We're going to figure it out when we come back. Hold on. All right, we're back. It was a really quick one. That was our Lady Liberty Foundation through Grizz and Noel. And, you know, more healing for Noel. I hope you're feeling better. Grizz, heal those ribs falling down. You know, there's those shout outs. So let's get back to this. So now in West Virginia, now I have another company who decides you've got to be there, and they're not going to do VA loan or FHA loan. Their prerogatives. So I asked, what's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. They just want something quick. I go, you don't understand. I already have a loan for twice as much as your house right now. I already have a loan. It's already done. All I got to do is have an appraisal, and I said, and get your inspections done, and we're done. The loan's already there, right? And Alan's like, MJ, you could probably move in 10 days. He goes, easy. He goes, as long as title is with it. Perfect. It's all set. And then I got, sorry, VA loan not happening. Why don't you do a conventional loan? I go, why don't you tell me what's wrong with the house? They refuse to tell me what's wrong with the house. So now Jim calls them, and he's like, listen, he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's going on. In the meantime, Alan, my beautiful Alan Braden, he's contacting this, I don't know, loan officer through CCM down there. He doesn't know him. His name is John Assif. I call him John Asshat because I know that's judgment. I know. Tap it out, MJ. Stop it. We're still not dealing with that one. Cancel, clear, delete. Make it all balance. So this guy tries to tell me that I need to come to realities, and I need to understand that things aren't unethical. It's how they're done. And I said, to whose standards? Whose standards? Not real estate standards. Because I just have Jim and his whole clan, his whole tribe, his son he just went through and got his certificate. All this, and he goes, this isn't how this is what I go, I know, but this is what they're getting away with. So I need help out there. We all need help, because sooner or later, you're going to either want to buy a house or you want to sell a house. And there are a lot of what they call the COVID realtors. If you talk to a long-term, you know, they're just full of shit. It's greed. It's money. It's you're like, what the hell's happening? Greed and money. So here's how this works. I have worked my whole life to pay for this house, and mostly as a single freaking parent, right? A single woman with 2 kids. My freaking hard-earned money. Remember, I didn't get married with my husband until 2018, and I was in here in 2000. So that's 18 years I paid hard, and I worked my ass off for this house, only for realtors who want to sell and buy and won't step down. My own realtor, let me tell you something, Patty Medina, kudos to you. Kudos for your lovely, balanced God gift of honoring people and understanding, which is why you're successful and these other people aren't. And that's why they're still groveling. They raked her over the coals when she was on vacation. I came out of contract. All these other realtors were like, well, it's your realtor. It's your realtor. I go, it's not my realtor. If my realtor had her way, my house would be completely cleaned out. So stop saying that. I didn't like it. They catfight. They talk shit about each other. I've never seen an industry so polluted with greed, money, and just abstinence. My realtor wanted to take a 0.5% because the stupid pickleball professional player who wants to come and buy my house, It's his aunt, and his aunt wanted all the points she could get. Why? So that she could then put it back into her nephew. And that was the money the nephew was going to use to help to bring down the cost of the house. Tell me that ain't some shit. My realtor stepped down for me. So at the very end, she got her money anyway because I refused. I refused the contract. It's not right. It's greed. And I just can't understand how a person who's not listing the property, taking the pictures and doing all that, and another realtor comes in and they think that they want $26,000. Get the flip out of here. That is you're just stealing from people, especially in today's society. No, it's not my opinion. You ask anybody, a hard-earned working house. How do you think $26,000 for 2 hours worth of work is it's ugly. It's ugly and it's bad. I'm going to tell you what else they did. They wrote the contract supposedly with the numbers to keep the numbers high, and don't let them kid you, because I found out afterwards after closing because I didn't know any better. Don't let them kid you either. So the price that they said, oh, it's going to be this price, but then the seller, me, has to kick back $20,000 to the buyer to make the numbers work. Well, when they say that, guess what they're doing? They're taking the money from that top bracket for them. That's fucked up. And I don't care. Kick me off. I'm sorry, Jewel, but that is screwed up. My poor realtor, God love her soul. She backed. It hurts me. It hurts me because everything that she wanted, I denied. And I said, you don't have enough faith. You don't have enough faith. That Father, Mother, God's going to come and someone's going to buy this house because they love the house. Everybody loved the energy of the house, but they didn't like the decor because it was sporty. It was mountainous. And you're in Art Deco bling bling freaking Miami. I don't like it. My bathrooms, I made them into outhouses. Wood. You should see them. They were wooden. And they're going to rip it all out. But it's them. And every piece of wood in here was refurbished or recycled wood from the hurricanes in every aspect. So that's my story. So now we finally found another home. This one is in Ulster, Pennsylvania. This one's only, I think, 58 acres. We still don't have a signed contract. But by the gift of God, we were talking. I said, listen, he goes, I don't know where we're going to live. I go, here's what we're going to do. I said, the second half of our retirement here at 57, 58 years old was to get an RV. And we were just going to travel during the winter months to get out of the winters up there because neither of us really want that. I said, so let's just buy that, put it at an RV park for the time being. Something will come through, right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Father, Mother, God, when you have a belief system that they will help you and you ask for it on the portal, on the stinking 888 Lionsgate portal opens up on that day, I get a contract for Ulster. I get an RV, like we were looking at toy haulers that were like 150, 175,000, fell in my lap. Fell in my lap. I have a luxury grand RVing Solitude that is in mint condition. I'm not kidding. $41,000. The guy just wanted to get rid of it. He still owed money on it. And it was going to cost him more to pay it than just to get rid of it. And it was slash and slash and slash. At that point, I was like, I understand AI now. I understand Big Daddy listening because they threw it in my lap. I'm so grateful. So grateful. And now I have this big fifth wheel RV 40-foot thing that looks like it's like an 800 square foot home of luxury. So at least I get to put my head somewhere, and I get to put it 15 minutes from my mother's house in Pennsylvania until I figure out if we are making it to closing on this house or not. So this weekend, it was, wow. I'm going to shout them out. Art and Lori, dear old friends. My very first friend that I ever met here was 1988. His name is Steve Ursey. He flew in just to help my husband drive one of the big trucks and the RV up to Pennsylvania. I have a truck with my car going for another, and the Good Greeks, then they have a 50-foot whatever semi who's going to come and pack up this house and take it. It has been a whirlwind, an exhaustion like no tomorrow. And in my late 50s here, my body hurts. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I'm exhausted, and it's all good because Father, Mother, God shows. And there's so much other stuff, but I'm almost out of time, and I'm right here at the hour, and I got to get packing because this is my last day before the Good Greeks. And I love you all, and I so much thank you that it wasn't really a learning unless you just wanted to hear the true reality of this. And again, you can go to Mojazzi, Mojozie, if you want to follow this reality, because we still don't have a house, and we still don't have somewhere to mail our stuff. And the 14th is my last day here. So I might be on a cell phone, or I might be in the trailer next Monday. You don't know. I might show you around our God-given toy hauler, fifth wheel toy hauler that came. I love you. May the angels carry you with peace, love, grace, joy, happiness, and abundance of what it is that you desire most. Make your life happy no matter what. Cry, scream, get it out, tap, breathe. Mwah. Joel, all members of my MBR family, hang tight. I know that we're going through a whole bunch of new growing pains with MBR. Stay tuned. There's some really good shows out there. There's some financial shows that help, especially for the veterans. This is what this is about, helping the veterans figure it out so they're not homeless and they're able to help. And there's so many wonderful just organizations. And Joel is one of the biggest parts of it here at MBR. And he had the vision to let us talk and let us get our emotions out through this and create DJing, if that's the purpose. If that's your sole purpose, then he opened that door for you. And we're so honored. So follow mbrradio.us. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Roku. You can find us on Amazon Fire Stick. Here we are at Facebook. I think there's, I don't know what else. There's Rumble. There's so many. Just look up, MB Radio, MBR Radio, Military Broadcast Radio. Love you all. We'll catch you next Monday, 10 o'clock. We're out. See, MJ, I have to find here it is, my closer. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.